if you wanted to make a Wolfenstein level that made yourself look cool, then maybe you'd make this level, which is like heavy on references to other levels, kind of cerebral in its approach. It just sort of lets the player choose a couple different paths, and it's very symmetrical and sort of easy to understand and communicate what it's doing, which isn't necessarily a thing I strive for, but is the sort of thing that seems to be favored amongst people who either talk about or play video games, which is kind of infuriating to me in a lot of ways, because I like strangeness and sloppiness in its own way. But this main area is a very heavy and obvious reference to episode 4 level 2. The beginning is a reference to episode 4 level 3. And there's, sort of a big block where that's surrounded by a long hall on all sides, and you can enter from the east or west side of the block first to get the silver key, and then from the north and south side are both blue key doors, and you can go one of two paths to get the gold key, but it's essentially the same path. And yeah, these two rooms, this room and the room on the other side, are shaped identical but textured differently, and in the middle is blocked off by the path that leads to where the gold key is. But yeah, I feel like this is the kind of level that you make to just, I don't know. I went on a rant about how game designers and game industry types talk about these things, and I just it's too boring to even go back to. But I don't know, sometimes you just want to sit back and not have to say anything, because I feel like that often ruins the experience, and the more that I do it, the more that I feel like it is ruining the experience. Maybe it's easier to do on the levels that feel more amateurish, and the ones that feel like they don't speak for themselves, or they're sort of cobbled together. But this one isn't really like that, and so the more that you kind of explain it, the more that you feel like it diminishes an experience that's already kind of obvious from playing it. Like, what's going on, it's very clear if you've played 13 levels up until now, or more than that probably. So I don't know, this is one of those times where I question doing commentary on something like this, and I think ideally I wouldn't want to do it at all, but partly this is an exercise to put things to rest, maybe, so I don't have to go back and say, obsess over these things that I did when I was 14, like they said their piece, and they're finally, able to just float off and not be occupying my life at all anymore, which is how it should be. Because I still have that issue sometimes with some of my old music, and I think I keep trying to fool myself. This room, by the way, is pretty tense. There isn't really a good place to hide from these guys, and you don't know which ones they're behind and which ones they aren't, because they're sort of obscured, so I just run straight forward and ignore them. But you can fool yourself into thinking that you knew something that you didn't when you were making it, but you can only fool yourself for so long. So like with some of my music, I think, I go back and listen to it, and I think I sort of trick myself by saying, maybe I knew something making this that I don't know now because I was in a different state of mind. And I realized that, no, that's not true. I didn't. And I know that I didn't. And maybe, somebody else listening to it, they'll interpret that differently, but that's their interpretation. And I'm the one who made it, so I can't have that sort of interpretation. I know what was put into it. And, you can interpret other things from it. But in the end, I know that, if something was made by a version of me that was 14 years old and immature and, naive in so many ways, that's going to be reflected. Like, that has to reflect in what I was doing. And, maybe there were moments where I was channeling something else, but maybe realizing that has helped me put to bed some of these notions I have of that this thing that I did was more like, complex or advanced or interesting than than something I can do now. I realize that I'm just focused now on what's important. This key area is kind of a reference in part to episode 4, level 5, the very end area. There's one room in particular. I kind of like this room. There's just these guards that are stuck behind these plants. This last part is kind of linear. You're just trying to get these guys behind these alcoves. But I pretty much had no trouble with this level at all, because it's pretty clear what's going on. Plus I played it a lot. But yeah, I don't know, it's really easy to trick yourself, I guess. And I don't want to make myself believe something that isn't true. I don't know if I had more to say on that or not. I already forgot. This last area, there are some SS guys to make you very frustrated. I knew exactly what was coming, though. Okay, stay tuned for level 15.